what I always invite listeners to think about is think about the part of you, everybody listening, about which you have the most shame. Okay, for most of us, something came to mind really quickly. For a lot of us, we don't want that part to come to mind, and we really especially don't want anybody else to know about that part. Now, what would you say if I told you that that part of you was welcome and that part of you was good? Now, most people would recoil about that because they don't like that part of them. They don't like what it's doing. They don't like that it takes over and does the things that it does. But what we know in IFS is the way to actually help those parts to heal and not have to do whatever it is that they're doing that we feel so much shame about is to actually move towards them with love and compassion and curiosity and understand where they first learned how to try to help us in this way.
Right.
And what they're afraid would happen if they didn't do that. And what we learn is that's a much more effective way to help that part transform than to beat it down, yell at it, and try to lock it in the basement.
Yeah. And I love that you're using that word transform and transformational and healing, because the typical approach, and I have to admit, like as a therapist, we get, I think, asked, or it's easy for our manager parts as therapists to get enlisted in helping others. And for any helpers out there, first responders, we are known for, in fact, people can say to us point blank, I'm paying you to help me get rid of this eating disorder. Like that's kind of what it comes down to. I have an explosive anger problem. I need you to help me to get it to stop. And what you're saying, it sounds like, and you illustrated it so nicely with Cookie Monster, is that therapists typically take the role of that little cerebral manager brain that says there's rights and wrongs, and it's wrong to eat all those cookies. And what we do is we try to, as therapists in the old model, try to get that brain to grow bigger and fight and kind of put down the Cookie Monster. But it sounds like you're saying IFS, the beauty of it is that actually when we do that, we hurt ourselves more. That we go to war against these parts, and then those parts we're fighting tend to get bigger. And that's why addictions, I think, tend to be so, under traditional treatment, tend to be so perplexing, that we do all this intensive treatment to manage the addiction. And then what happens? Like relapse.
That's exactly right. And I think it kind of comes down to this bipolar approach that in our treatment modalities historically, and in our culture, in our families, and in our faith communities, our solution when we're feeling something we don't want to feel, like, let's say, fear or shame, or we're doing something we don't want to do, like eating cookies or drinking too much wine, is to move against it. And we say, stop it. Mm-hmm. Stop eating those cookies. Only eat lettuce leaves. Stop drinking that wine. Stop being angry. And you and I both know, if you're like me and you've ever felt or done anything that you don't want to do, telling me to stop it is just going to make it worse. And IFS actually is a move toward model where we're not aligning with one part or another to villainize one part or another, even if what it's doing is stuck in a really unhelpful role.